So today you're going to be building a snowman for art today. And the materials you're going to need are here, paper clipped together. We've got the orange piece, the black piece, the white, and the whole black piece of paper. You will also need your glue stick and a white crayon to complete our materials. So we're going to be creating our snowman at night from the story Snowman at Night, which is one of my favorites. And we're going to start with this black piece of paper. Make sure you turn your black piece of paper so it goes the long way, not the tall way, but the long way. So I'm going to put that piece of paper here, and then I'm going to take my white crayon, and I really love this project because you get to see the snowman from a certain angle, and I really like that. We're just going to focus on his head today. So with my white crayon, I'm going to start on one edge of my paper, and I'm going to draw his head like he's looking up at the sky, at the night sky. And I'm only going to draw part of his head. I'm not going to draw the whole circle. I'm just going to draw it from a certain angle, so we're only seeing a part of his head. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm lightly with my crayon just going to draw a big circle, right here, like this. So it's just part of his face here, part of his head that we see. So my next step is to take the white paper, this is our snow for our snowman, and we're going to be doing torn paper art. Now we did this back in the fall, and it's one of my favorite types of art because it's just really hard to make a mistake. All you're doing is tearing the paper. So you're going to start by tearing out many, many little pieces of paper. And I think I've said this before. You want to make them about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bigger. We don't want teeny tiny pieces or you'll be here forever. And we don't want really super big ones either because then it doesn't give you the nice overlap of paper, of torn paper art. So let's not use too big of a piece. So we've got pieces about this big. Remember when we're doing these videos, you should always pause and stop them so that you can do your work and try not to follow along with me because I tend to go a little bit faster. So I'm going to take my white paper and I'm just going to be ripping out pieces about this big and putting a nice pile of them on the table in front of me so that I can just start gluing them down all at once. So after I have got a nice pile here, I'm going to get started. So I want my pieces to go inside of this circle, and I don't want any I don't want any black showing. I only want the white because this is the snowman is made obviously out of snow, so I don't want any black paper showing through. So I'm going to start gluing it down. I find that it's easier to put the glue on the black paper and then just stick the white papers on rather than trying to put glue on the back of all the little white pieces. That's kind of hard. So I just like to spread it off here on the black paper like this. If you do cover too much area, then the glue dries before you get there, and that kind of defeats the purpose. So I do a little space with my glue my pieces down, and you'll notice that I'm overlapping. That means I'm putting one paper on top of the other, and you're going to have to do that in order to make sure that there isn't any any black showing, and I only have white paper here. So I'm going to continue to rip out my paper and glue them down here so that they're overlapping on top of each other, and there isn't any black showing. And my job is to fill in this whole snowman's head right here with all of my white overlapping pieces of paper. So I'm going to swap this out. So I went ahead and did one already, and I want to jump to that. So once you're finished gluing all the white paper down, I'll show you what we're going to do next. So now you should have your white paper all glued down, and there is your snowman's head. Okay, and he's going to be sort of looking up at the sky. And this is where our next piece of paper comes in handy. we need the little small black piece that looks like this. Again, it's torn paper art, so we're going to rip out. These are going to be the pieces for his eyes and his mouth. So I'm going to try to rip out two pieces that are about the same size for his eyes, and then similarly we'll do that with his mouth as well. Kind of, like I said, you can't really mess this up. You are just ripping. No scissors allowed today, just our hands and our tearing and our glue stick, and that's it. All right, so we're going to start with his eyes. So again, I'm going to see where I want to put his eye, and then I'm going to stick it on, just stick it right on there like that. And here's my other one. And I'm going to do that. All right, and then I'm going to work on his mouth. And you know, it's hard with the white on here. You might want to just put it on each piece so that you can place it sort of where you want it. So I'm going to glue down the pieces for his mouth. And I love these pictures because with torn paper, because even though we're all creating the same project and working on the same project, they all turn out so different, and that is really the cool thing about art. All right, so now I've got his eyes and his mouth, and now with this last orange piece of paper, we're going to make that carrot nose. And carrots, when you buy them in the store and you buy them in a bunch, they're really big and they're kind of bumpy and misshapen. They're not always a perfect shape, and that's why torn paper works so well here. So I'm just going to start trying to tear this paper out. I'm going to come back down here to this point here, and I'm going to try to tear it out this way. And we're going to see what we get. It's not going to be a perfect shape because that's not how carrots are. So there. So I have now torn out his nose, and I'm going to put that right about here so that he's now kind of looking up into the sky. So I've got my eyes and my nose. Now, feel free to add any other details on here that you want. If you want to use the black paper and the orange paper for other details, maybe you want to give your make it a snow woman and give her a bow on the top of her head, or maybe you want to add cheeks or something else, eyelashes or something. So feel free to use the paper to rip it up and complete your snow person. The last step is we're going to give this a night. We're going to turn this into the night sky. So I know that there's something out in the sky at night that I see often, and that is the moon. And we know a little bit about the moon, that it has different phases. So sometimes you might see the moon and it's full and it's round, so you could draw it that way. Sometimes you might see just a crescent like this. So feel free to put the moon in whatever phase you'd like. So I'm going to color that in with my white crayon. It works out really well on this black paper. It looks very cool. And because it's winter time, I'm going to draw some snowflakes. So I'm going to just draw some lines here to make a snowflake. If you draw an X like this, and then another X, and then a line down the middle of it, you get something that looks like that. And if you want to add some little lines to the end, you can, and that gives you kind of a snowflake effect. You can make big ones like this, or you can make little teeny tiny ones like this, and you can put them sort of all over your paper here and create those snowflakes all over the black part, so it looks like your snowman is out in the snow at night. So remember, no scissors, and to tear the pieces up into pretty good sized pieces so that they cover your paper properly, and have fun.